Welcome back to algebravideos.com. Here we have 5x minus 8 plus 4x plus 3 equals 31. So this is a nice little problem, and we see we have an x in there and a bunch of numbers. So whenever we see a problem like that, we know we're going to be trying to get x by itself on one side of the equation. Another way to say it is to isolate x or solve for x. So the first thing to do is, in all algebra problems, is ignore the big scary words. That is the chapter title or the section title. Here it's linear equations, and as you can see, just for fun, I have a shark and a dinosaur out there to the side, just to make fun of these big scary words. You can ignore the big scary words. Math is a language in and of itself. So we don't need to know those words. You have my permission to completely ignore them. Should be a big load off your shoulders. And now we're just going to work the little problems, and that's the fun part. So the first thing to do is just look at this. We have several terms here. We have 5x, 8, a 4x, a 3. We want to look through here and just see if this can be written any simpler and shorter. So when I look through here, I see this 5x and I see this 4x, and I notice, hey, they're pretty similar. I could just rewrite them or combine them into one term. So instead of having it spread out in two terms, it's kind of unnecessary, right? Why not just kind of neaten it up a little bit here and just write that as one term? So we're going to combine any of these parts of this equation that look similar. So 5x and 4x look very similar. In fact, I know I can rewrite that as 9x. 5x plus 4x is 9x. And then the rest of the equation, I'm just going to keep writing it as it is. So I've got a minus 8 here. So I'm going to rewrite that as a minus 8. And then there's a positive 3 here. So I'm going to rewrite that as a plus 3. Okay. And that equals, over on the right side, 31. So I'm just rewriting it. How easy is that? That's the easiest part of math, is just rewriting numbers. So rewrite the same number. So now I'm going to look over here and see, is there anything else that I might be able to combine into one term? So there's 9x. I don't see anything else with an x. Now I'm looking at the numbers, negative 8 and 3. Well, you know what? Those two things could be combined and written more simply, right? We could just write that as one number. Negative 8 plus 3 is a negative 5. So let's rewrite this equation as 9x. That's this part here. I'm just rewriting it. And then the second part here is minus 8 plus 3. So that's a minus 5. Okay, and that equals 31. That's what's over here on the right side. I'm just rewriting it. So 9x minus 5 equals 31. Well, next thing I want to do is get rid of this negative 5 over here. I'm trying to get x by itself, right? So it'd be nice to get rid of that negative 5. So how can you get rid of a negative 5? Maybe turn it into a 0. Well, just add 5, right? So I'm just going to add 5 just because I feel like it. In math, you can add something to either side of an equation anytime you want, but there's only one rule you have to follow. You have to do the same thing to the other side. So since I decided I felt like adding a 5 to the left side of the equation, I had to follow the rules of math and do the same thing to the other side of the equation. So that's where we are. Now let's rewrite this. 9x, I'm just going to bring that down. Nothing's going to change. And then for this next term, minus 5 plus 5, well, that just cancels to 0. So I could just say that's minus 0. And that equals 31 plus 5. What's 31 plus 5? 36. So now 9x minus 0 equals 36. Well, I really don't need that 0 in there. So I could just say 9x equals 36. We're almost there. I almost have x isolated, right? So 9x equals 36. We're almost there. We just have this number 9 right beside the x, so we have to get rid of that 9 somehow, and we'll be home free. So how do we get rid of that 9? Well, we can divide both sides by 9. That would do it. If we divide both sides by 9, then this term 9 over 9 will simplify to just 1. So 9 over 9 simplifies to 1. Okay, that's this 9 right here, 9 over 9. That simplifies to 1. The x term stays the same, so that left side becomes 1x. And that equals, on the right side, 36 divided by 9 is 4. So 1x equals 4. And another way of saying 1x equals 4 is just x equals 4, right? You don't really need to say 1 times x. It kind of goes without saying. So 1 times x is the same as x equals 4. And I'm putting a rectangle around it just to show that that's our solution. And we're done. That's all we have to do. Now, there's an optional step, and that is to plug this number of x equals 4 back into the original equation and see if it holds true. In other words, are both sides equal? So let's do that, because it's nice to know we got the right answer, right? That way when we turn it in our test, we're sure of it, okay? Your teacher may or may not require this, but I'm just showing you this as a way to make sure you got the right answer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rewrite the equation over here on the right side, and wherever there's an x, I'm going to plug in our solution of 4. So there's an x, and there's another x. So I'm going to rewrite this equation, but I'm going to plug in a 4 for each one of those x's. So here we go. Here's the first term, 5x. So I'm going to write it down here. 5 times, and our solution for x is 4. Okay. Next term is minus 8. So I'm going to write a minus 8. And then the next term is a plus 4x. So I'm going to write plus 4 times, and what do we have for x? We have x equals 4. So I'm going to plug in a 4 right there. The next term is plus 3. So I'm going to write a plus 3. And finally, we have that equals 31. So all of that equals 31. All right. So now I'm just going to have a little fun and change color. And I'm going to show you, we're going to combine this. I'm just simplifying at this point. So 5 times 4 is 20, right? And then next term is minus 8. So I'm going to write minus 8 plus, this next section here is 4 times 4. So what's 4 times 4? 16. And then the next term is a plus 3, so I'll just rewrite plus 3. And that equals, on the right side, 31. So I'm just going to rewrite 31. Another way to say it is I'm bringing down the 31. So, okay. Now we're getting closer and closer and closer. So let's simplify. Again, I'm just going to do this piece right here. 20 minus 8 is 12. So I'm going to do that. And then we can simplify this next term. 16 plus 3. What's 16 plus 3? 19. 19. And that equals, on the right side, 31. No change there. And now we'll just simplify one more time. 12 plus 19. Well, if you do the math on that one, it's 31. And that equals, on the right side, bringing down 31. Well, guess what? Look at this. Our little check worked. We plugged in a 4 everywhere there's an x, and we got two numbers that were equal. So that means x equals 4 is the correct solution. So I'm just going to put a little check mark there. We prove that x equals 4 is the solution. So I'm going to give us an A+.
Thumbs up and subscribe. For more videos like this, check out algebravideos.com.